Now, starting from where we stopped the other at the previous class. So in this video, we are going to learn we are going to learn the different parts that makes up a CSS file, starting from the selector to the declaration to attributes to properties and to values. Number one of what we have to understand first is what we call selectors. Selectors are used to identify a particular element in our HTML page. It could be a normal HTML tag, and it could be just any tag that we invented by ourselves through the use of maybe div tag and some other tags like that. So, but in this example that we have on our screen, we have basically two selectors. We have body and we have h2. So all the things we are doing is going to rally around this body here, and all the things we do here will rally around this h2 as being a selector. Now, having understood what a selector is, then we now move on to what we call declaration. Declaration comprises property and value. For this body, this is the only declaration we have there: background color and red. So background color here stands for property, while the value is red. When we look at selector h2, we have two declarations. We have font size and we have text shadow. Font size is a property that has a value of 30px for h2, and so it means that for every h2 tag we use on our HTML file, the font size is going to be 30, except and until we assign or we use an inline CSS for a particular HTML element on our HTML page. More so, for h2, we also have another declaration that has text shadow as property, and the whole of these as the value for that property. Now, for this video, we want to learn how to structure out a web layout. So what are we going to do? I'm going to get rid of all of these. So let me delete everything here. Then I go back to my HTML and delete all I have here. Now I'm going to introduce two selectors. I'm going to introduce what we call ID and what we call class. I'm going to introduce an ID, and I'm also going to introduce, oh my god, I'm going to introduce ID and I'm going to introduce class. Now, so what we're going to do is, I'm going to start with an ID. We use hash to represent an ID in our CSS, and I'm going to use just any name with that hash. Let me say I'm using a container as the name. Now this container is a selector, right? Sorry, it's a selector. Now I'm going to load it with so many so many declarations. So my first declaration I'm going to use is the width of my site, right? So let me say the width is going to be 780px, and the height is going to be, let's say, 500px, right? Then I'm going to assign a border to it, and I'm going to say the border is 1px solid, and I give it a color, let's say red. Now, having done this, I'm going to save this. Then I go back to my HTML page, and I inside the body tag, I'm going to introduce what we call a div tag. A div tag is one of the elements we have in HTML, and the particular attribute that goes in here is going to be an ID, and the name of the ID is what? Is container. I'm using the name that is used here. This name, exactly this name, as it is written here, I'm going to put it here too. Now let me save it and go back to my browser to refresh. Wow, so this is what I've done. This is the elements I've styled from my external CSS file. Are we together? So we can proceed, right? So I move again back to my CSS. Now, having done this, the next thing I have to do is this is the container that will house the whole of my website. So the next thing is for me to do to put a banner here. So I go back and I'll style my banner. So in this case, I'm going to use a dot for my banner. The dot will have, the banner will have a width of the same thing, 780 px. It will have a height. Let's say the height should be 120 px. It will also have a border. Let's say the border is 1 px solid and let's just say black. That's the color, right? So I save this, then I go back to my index. Now remember, this banner is going to be inside the container. So I'm going to come here and I will come inside the container here. I introduce another tag, which is still div tag. And in this case now, this is going to be class. And that is for banner. I close that tag. I save it and I go back to refresh. This is what I have. So this is my banner. Then the next thing I have to attach to it is what? Is the menu. So I go back again to my CSS. I come down, I say menu. The width is 780px. The height is what? Let's say the height is 30px. And let's say the border is 1px solid and still black, right? I'll save it again, come back to my HTML, I move down because that menu goes directly under the banner. So I say div class equals what? Menu. Then I close my div tag. I save it, go back and refresh. That is the menu. Then the next thing is my slider. So I go back again. I come down to say slider, right? So the width again. The width is also the same thing as that, 7px, 780px. And the height. Let's say the height is 220px. And the border is 1px. Here let me use dashed and let's say black. I save it, right? Then I go back here and div class equals what? Slider. Slider. I save it and refresh again. Fine, this is what I have. Now you will realize that the space I have left is too small for the main content of the site and the footer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the height of my container to, let's say, something like let's say 900. Let's say 900. So let me try to refresh. Fine. So when I scroll down, I can easily see it, right? This is it. So I will have to go back again and declare and define the content. So the width again, I'm going to use the same thing, 780px. The height. So the height, let's say the height is let me say 500px. And the border, let's say the border is 1px dashed. Alright, now I save it, go back to my index, right under the slider, I put another div, and the class is what? The class is content. Alright, so I close my div, I save, and I refresh my page. Fine. This is it. So the last part I have should be for the footer. So I'm going to do something here. Let me reduce this a bit to, let's say, 800, and I reduce the content to, let's say, 350. Fine. So the remaining part here is going to be for the footer. So meanwhile, before you actually write anything for the footer, you have to make sure that once you sum up the height of the banner, menu, slider, content, and footer, it will give you the aggregate of the length of your of the container, which is 800. So here you have 120 plus 30, that is 150, plus 220, that is 370, plus 350, that is 720. So what I have left is 80, right? So I just come here and I say dot footer. The width is the same thing, 780 px. The height is now 80 px, and the border is 1 px solid. So I can save it, and I come down here, right under content, I say div class equals footer. I save it, then I can come here and refresh. Perfect. So we can have it there, right? So this is just a way of laying out your web page before you start putting in the content. I hope you're enjoying the class. Stay tuned till the next video. Our next class, lesson is out. I remain Ahmad Akurede from Articulate Technologies Concept. Thank you very much.